Hey fellow backyard boyers, Nick here. So now that we've finished our trap, I'm going to talk a little bit about what kind of bait you can use, how to set up your trap, and then we're going to throw it in the water over here. So first thing, when it comes to bait, there are lots of options. Crayfish will be attracted by almost anything. So if it's remotely food-like and you put it in your trap, chances are you will attract crayfish. Now what I find works the best though is fresh bait. You catch a lot more crayfish if your bait is fresh. And two, fish. Fish is probably the best bait I've used. Though I found that especially as the season went on, I had more and more success using things like cat food, hot dogs, bacon, anything with a lot of fat in it. So today I've got a hot dog and we're just going to put it in the trap. So if you just threw the hot dog in there, it would really get torn up really quick. So we've got our bait box here. So you just take the hot dog and whatever you're going to use, and you want to kind of tear it up and throw it in the box. Tear it up into smaller pieces. That way the scent will attract the crayfish. Throw it in there. Put your rubber band over it and it's ready to go. If you were to use cat food, you can actually stick a can of cat food in here. It'll bulge a little bit. But if you take the whole cover off and stick it in here, I found that it works a little better than just poking holes in the top. But you can do that as well. As long as you find some nice still water where there are crayfish, you'll catch them. Now if you're in a running stream or something, I like using fish or hot dogs seem to work pretty well in a bait box. Because the fast moving water, for some reason, you do catch a lot of crayfish, but I think it's probably just because the water's constantly running over it and moving it downstream. Up here we have a nice little river and it's running through, but it's collected in this area and there are a lot of rocks. Usually you'll find crayfish like to hide in and among rocks, and out there you can't really see it, but a little ways out there it's pretty deep, so that's where I'm going to try and throw my trap. Now, if I were doing this in a river, because this trap is made out of plastic, I'll normally weight it. This is a commercial trap, and a lot of traps are made out of steel. This trap is heavy enough that if I throw it with some bait, pretty much anywhere it won't go very far, or it won't go anywhere at all. And once you start getting crayfish in here, it'll weigh it down, so you don't really need to put anything in here. Because this trap is so light, what I found works really well is just throw a couple rocks in. It doesn't have to be a lot of weight, just something to get the trap onto the bottom and keep it there for a while. Once crayfish start coming in, they'll weight your trap for you. So you don't really have to worry about that too much. But in something like this where the water's really still, especially out there, the trap's not really going to go anywhere, so it's not an issue and I'm not going to put anything in here. And I was telling you earlier that you can build these in different sizes. So this is, the trap this is my favorite trap. But if I find an area that has a lot of crayfish, I'll throw this guy in. This one is 24 inches long and 11 inches in diameter. And this thing can hold a lot of crayfish when it's at full capacity. You can see the difference in size. But some of the things to keep in mind is that you need to make sure that if you're going to try and catch crayfish, that the body of water you're you're going to be trapping in, you got to make sure that you follow all rules and regulations. Make sure that it's legal to do this. And some places have no seasons. Other places, like up here, there is a season for crayfish, and you need to make sure you fish during that season. Some places don't have any restrictions on what you can catch or what species you can catch or what size you can catch. Other places do, and you need to be aware of those things and respect that. Another thing to keep in mind is that plastic traps like this are not legal in all areas. Metal traps aren't legal in all areas. Only certain traps are legal in certain areas, so you just got to make sure that the type of trap you're using and also the size. This size is generally pretty universal, but a big trap like this may be restricted in some areas. So it's just up to you to find that out and make sure that you're doing everything legally and you're doing everything right. So without further ado, I'll just kind of explain my setup here. So I've got my line attached to this clip. You could just tie your line directly to your trap or the handle. It really doesn't matter. I've got about 50 feet of line because I like to throw it out as far as I can from the shore. But if you were putting this straight down into the water, you'd only need about 10 feet of line or so. And there are lots of different ways to set a trap up. This is just one way. And this is what I've been doing. I don't really take my boat out or anything. So I'm just going to kind of aim for right in there. Try not to hit you guys. And there it goes. So it's going down there. I'm going to take the end of my line here, and normally I have it tied to a rock as an anchor, but I'm just going to tie it. There's a nice anchor point right here on the ground, so I'm going to tie it there and just let it sit. Generally I'll let a trap sit for anywhere from half an hour to a full day. It just depends where it is and how high traffic of an area it is, and also how good the crayfish population is. So that's it. I just wanted to say thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.